It's daybreak in the Australian sugar country, and we're the cane cutters. Our day starts with the dawn. For our wives, it starts even before that. We've got a lot to do. There's almost 500,000 acres of sugar land in tropical Australia, with crops growing in rotation. We'll take 5 or 6 million tons of cane off it during the next 8 months or so, and that's a lot of cane. But at the start of the day, we're just sleepy men, pushing our bikes to work through the cool, early sunlight. Cane cutting's work that'll break your back at any time, particularly at the start of the day, and it's worse at the start of the season. Stoop, chop, straighten, top. Stoop, chop, straighten, top. We begin our journey down the roads. Growing the cane doesn't take many men, but it takes a lot of men to cut it. So we're pretty valuable people in the cane belt, in the fields and in the towns. Before the season starts, old mates get together in the cane towns and form up in cutting gangs. They pay us strictly by results, and every one of us is after a place in one of the crack teams that earn £3 a day or more a man. When the gang's together, we're ready for the paperwork. When we go into the association offices, we know just what we're going to sign. Agreements as good and fair as a working man can put his name to anywhere in the world, checked by union experts and proved through years of use. A grower signs last, and his hand doesn't shake either. After we've signed on, we seal the bargain with a quiet drink. We know each other, the country, the contracts, and the cane. The first job before we start cutting is to burn through the crop to clear out vermin and possible disease. We'd get more money if we cut unburnt cane, but after the fire's cleared out the trash, we can work faster and it's safer. And so, among the bare black stems, we begin our journey down the rows. Stoop, chop, straighten, top. Stoop, chop, straighten, top. We set a steady, endless pace to the simple music of the swinging knives, the sting of salt sweat in our eyes. Stoop, chop, straighten, top. We work our journey down the rows. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the same. We are the men who cut the cane. The contract says the boss provides water, but more cane cut, the more money earned. So nobody drops his knife for longer than he has to. Usually just enough time for a quick gulp of water or tea or a mouthful of grub from his smoko bag. And then it's back to the cane. Stoop, chop, straighten, top. There's half a day's work behind us. We can take a rest through the hot hours now. Later in the afternoon, we'll load our cane. And a gang that's been loading in the morning will get to work with a knife. Home looks good to those who have one. And for those who haven't, well, if your gang shares a bunkhouse and a cook, that can be pretty good too. cook's one of the team, often an old cane cutter like Charlie. He shares equally with the others. And wherever he came from, he must know how to cook for hungry men. Best he can get and plenty of it. The ashes and dirt and bristles of burnt cane get into your clothes and your hair and your skin. Even when you're too tired to bother about washing, you have to attend to it. You have to wash your working clothes twice a day and yourself as often and thoroughly as possible. If you don't, you get tossed out of the bunkhouse. You can itch and scratch on your own. Anyway, food tastes better without the dirt dropping off your eyebrows into it. There's no fancy linen and crockery here, but I wish you could eat with us. You'd find it all right, particularly if you'd spent all the morning cutting cane. You'd probably like us, too. Our families come from the four corners of the earth. Recently, we were joined by new Australians from the Baltic countries. If you cut cane with a man, you soon find out what he's like. If he hasn't got the guts and stamina for the game, you drop him. If he has, well, you stop worrying about the color of his hair or the shape of his head. A good mate's a good mate, and that's that. There's always one of the team who looks after the tally sheet. And all he gets for that is everybody's thanks, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. When we're clean and fed and tired after a midday meal with the hot hour still ahead, only one thing looks sensible to most of us. Yes, you've guessed it. Spine bashing. There's the other half of the day, loading while the other gang cuts another field. And believe me, this cane's heavier than it looks, a lot heavier. The loading's tougher work than cutting. The only good thing about it is, once it's on the truck, that cane is as good as money in our pockets. Come on, mate, get it aboard. Let's get it away, clean the place up, and we'll be swinging the knives again in the morning. Where they take it and what they do with it now is not our business. But if you take sugar in your tea, maybe you're interested. Well, in this 1,300-mile-long Australian sugar belt, the cane can come from any one of 9,000 farms, averaging about 50 acres each. The trains will run it to one of the 32 mills. Farmers' cooperatives own almost half the mills, including the biggest. It's a far cry from the bad old days when Australian sugar was produced by what was just about slave labor. Here's the final check and record of what we cut. They weigh the cane and put it in the book. And after that, well, we've finished with it. The mill managers and shippers and wholesalers and grocers can worry about it from now. That's not our side of the business. We belong in the cane belt. We belong on the good earth of tropical Australia, which always has a tall crop ready for the men with the knives, the cane cutters.